Okay, we're going to get moving. So, Alison.
Hi, my name is Alison Jose. I'm the CEO of the Global Circular Network.
And I'm Alice, Paisley-Carruthers from Walk Consulting. We come to you on the Gadigal country of the Aurora Nation, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. They are the traditional custodians of the country that we sit in today, Sydney, Australia. There will be time for Q&A at the end of the session, and you'll receive a recording of this as well.
Thanks, Alice. So the Global Circular Network is a game plan plus tools for an interconnected circular economy at scale for textile-based products. Now, the RFID threads, I'll go through this with you, is the world's first washable RFID tool housed in a single thread. And that is enabling us to build ecosystem partnerships at scale. Now, it's because the RFID tool stays with the product and can collect unlimited accurate data in bulk when attached to our app. It enables us to create circular pathways for both the products and the services and links all service providers who are the B2B networks. It creates a digital passport for the product only, and it records the data related to what happens to the product and not the consumer or custodians as the product moves around a circular economy. Now, this helps us to create a shared responsibility for what happens to the product and the resources it uses. Now, I'll give you a little close-up here of the thread, if you can see it. It's tiny. It's 15 centimetres long. It's malleable. It's made of metal, and it's encased. The RFID can survive 30 to 100 washes. It's robust and can also withstand high and low temperatures. So it goes from 0 to, as we say, 200 degrees here. It holds the GS1 standards, and we access it through ultra high frequency or UHF commercial readers. And they will be the approved UHF RFID readers connected to our global circular network platform, plus any external software via an approved digital bridge. So it can bulk read and add data to hundreds or thousands of threads at once at high speed without the need for a line of sight scanning. Like, for example, that's what you need for QR codes or NFC, and they can only be scanned one at a time. So, of course, it also provides an unfakeable product authentication. Now, the RFID thread stays with the product as it travels around these 4 stages. RFID enables us to connect products at scale to create efficient circular pathways and keep the customer passport separate, which you can see that in stage 2 there, which is via the QR code or NFC, and that's connecting to a brand's website or a third-party app. Now, final stage 5 is the culmination of the collection of all the product data from fibre to feedstock. Once the product is sold or by permission from the brand, the platform is open source data and offered for free to R-cyclers. Now, we refer to R-cyclers as the people who resell, rent, repair, redesign, remake, and reuse. And they're all before the actual recycling. So this is how we easily engage the R-cyclers and put the local R-cyclers at the heart of circularity. Free connection is also offered to the sorters and the recyclers using our connected RFID readers. Verifiable EPR data, as we know, extended producer responsibility, is crucial for brands to meet their regulatory requirements. Also, by reusing the DPPs in a secondary market, because they're 30 to 50 washes, the threads are circular as well, and they provide efficient DPPs for products that do not require the full washability. So think of it in the sense of the sorters and the recyclers reclaim the RFID thread. Once that product has been done, they reset and reuse because they know that it has washability on there. That can then go into footwear, homewares, accessories, mattresses, anything that actually doesn't need the full length of the washability, but the product still works. So looks like I've skipped over. I wanted to show you the RFID technology is also used globally. It already is global. We know that it's being used in shipping ports all around the world, and the market is growing fast. However, RFID tags are usually on the outside of packaging, and that's thrown away after sale, or they use the stiff tags that are not washable. Now, it's a really terrible problem already growing for landfill, and for e-waste, we've got 40 billion RFID tags just going to landfill alone, thrown away once that product has been purchased. So by keeping the washable RFID thread with the product for its full life cycle, we can then plug into a network to extend the product's life first before being recycled. We can link products to an equitable circular economy at scale. And I wanted to show you the idea of having an equitable circular economy means that the readers are also affordable. So this is actually a $150 reader, and it gets attached to an Android phone that has our app on there. We also, this is a Chainway RFID handheld. And then, of course, going up to fixed systems that you'll find in stores, in factories, in shipping ports, in warehouses. So the data is added by scanning one or hundreds of RFID threads simultaneously, and we add the product ID data from either a centralized or decentralized databases via a digital bridge, or directly from our platform. This can be done by the brand or by the manufacturers at the time of sewing in the garment label, or at one of our circular data centers that we're going to be setting up. And you'll see in this image here, I've used a Zebra Technologies handheld, and I was scanning a product there, and so that's popped up to the first page. You'll see here we also do an NFC ring, which is made out of similar material to the RFID thread, but again, it's a single scan product only. So it doesn't work like the commercial RFID thread, which is enabling us to be able to tackle this problem at scale. Once we do start to scan in that data, it creates a unique DPP, barcode, and QFC, or by request, we can do the NFC. That's really crucial because the EU regulations is requiring a unique DPP for every single product. Textile and material suppliers will provide the verifiable data that meets the regulations, but we're also hearing that brands are asking the manufacturers themselves to assist with choosing and how to add this data, and asking them to actually recommend physical DPPs for them to help them meet the government regulations. So it really is all hands on deck. Now, this video you can see on our website, it's a bulk scanning demo. This is where we're actually scanning in a t-shirt. So as I said, the design was to not only be able to add large brands, SEMs via a digital bridge, we started at the point that we can actually access smaller brands, which includes being able to give affordable RFID readers, but also small brands can just enter this data in manually, as you'll see on this video. You can also visit our website to see the steps of scanning in multiple t-shirts simultaneously in the video. That's adding the regulations. It's a t-shirt, it's V-neck, extra large, GOTS organic cotton, grown in India with full supply chain data, verifiable certifications, the types of dyes, 100% cotton sewing thread made in India, plus the instructions to assist the recyclers. So what you do is you actually put all this data in once, and it will populate hundreds or thousands of RFID threads with all of this data automatically, and then it gets put into the product, or it can be put into the product, and then all the products are scanned and added all that data. Now, textile and material suppliers need to provide the verifiable data that meets the regulations. Oh, I've mentioned this, and we do hear that the manufacturers are being asked to actually help them provide that. So that's one of the things that we're actually addressing this from a big picture collaborative perspective, and I'll talk about that later in the feasibility study. Again, on the website, you can see this top one there as a video, and I think someone's saying, Emmanuel, can you turn off your video, please? Thanks, Emmanuel. So the image at the top there, you can see on the website under the specs for the RFID threads, you can see it being sewn into a polo shirt. This is because we're part of the EU Commission's Surpass 2. I'm actually in 3 of the Surpass 2 expert working groups, which has just been phenomenal to be able to really be there from the ground up as much as possible, to be able to understand what will be the standards for collecting the data, who keeps it, what data we need to keep, what kind of products that we need to, or the tools that we need to use. And we actually just were privileged to be part of an introduction to the United Nations Transparency Protocol. And I highly recommend everybody to check that out, because that will be the standard to which we collect and retain our data on our RFID threads. So adding data is in 2 stages. Stage 1 is where we're going to do both A, company data, and B, product data, and you'll learn why in a second. We create both centralized and decentralized databases. Again, that is going to be a phase through our feasibility studies. And that data is required to be kept or accessible for each DPP. Now, that's going to include A, information on the company or the brand, such as how the brand proves its compliance for example, environmental management systems, examples of all of the standards that you see there on the screen, and then B, the data on the specific product itself. Now, this is where a brand can show its compliance. It is complex. It's high-level data that helps a brand communicate that to meet the regulations. But it's also through Alice's work at the Walk platform, how brands can communicate this with their customers in an easy, meaningful way. In this stage 1 still, part B, we have the product data, and that's going to be added to every specific data. As I said, can be done once or can be done hundreds or thousands or simultaneously from centralized or decentralized databases or manually. It's going to be closed source via a digital bridge, so that will protect the brand's IP and can be connected to their SEMs. So we can see that the brands efficiently move from factory to warehouse to retail store, or when it's delivered. Now, it's at this point, or by request, the brand then switches off the digital bridge if there is one connected, and then it becomes open source. So through our RFID readers, anyone will be able to access to see the allowed data and then also participate in the circular economy and add new data. So we're going to capture the chain of custody. Through the DPP, brands can create financial partnerships with R-cyclers, and they'll increase their return on investment, for example, through resale, rent, and then, of course, redirect to repair, designers who can redesign or remake. And brands can build in rewards for R-cyclers. So there's a financial back and forth flow to also assist with the cost to transport and recycle. As we know, that is one of the pain points where we do see a lot of so-called textile waste, our resources, directly going to landfill, because who is going to pay? So we're building in that as a interconnected financial systems to support EPR systems. Now, you'll see on the screen, it's as easy as a check-in and check-out. It's really simple, can be done to the product. So for example, the product goes to a repairer, and the repairer can bulk scan. For example, they've got hundreds of products that have come in that day. They can scan them all. They say it's come in on this date, the city to capture the LCA data, and then report what gets done to it. For example, this portion got new zippers, this portion got a new sewn-on patch. And then again, once everything's done, bulk scan everything without data. Finished on this day, merrily on its way out into the community again. Now, our metrics calculate the product life extension. Now, the benefits to EPR via the Global Circular Network is enormous, but think of it as just really connecting via one single smart thread. So by keeping the RFID with the product, we can plug in upcoming automation, but it's really important to also keep the humans, the jobs, and the creativity at the center of circularity. Now, with this easy-to-use tools, we can train teams to collect the required data, create efficient reporting to meet compliance, plus secure metrics needed to develop best-case circular pathways for products based on the best-case accurate data. It also helps us to see the true cost, so we can create this as a shared responsibility. Now, bulk scanning benefits for full circularity provides us with great benefits to tackle the problem at scale, and it's an enormous problem at scale. At the point of the final scan, it gives the verifiable LCA data for efficient reporting and compliance in real time, and taking us from design to EPR to recycling. It increases efficiency, helps us divert hazardous chemicals. Now, that's really important because we do know that's a real sticking point for brands who don't want to reveal what their chemicals are because they don't want to reveal the formulas, and they say that that's their own private IP. Now, that's fine. And the way we're getting around that is we just need the presence of the hazardous chemicals, for example, PFAS. So we do know, for example, in activewear, in uniforms, we want to know, so at that point of scan, as it's being sorted, in bulk, we'll be able to flag that that product has a presence of those chemicals and therefore divert that product. So then we can also add the provenance data to recycled textiles, and that's going to help us create safer feedstocks. This kind of advanced metrics is really from unprecedented data. So it's the full cycle carbon sequestration data, and also easily to be able to understand and calculate sequestration and offer that to customers so they can also participate in drawing down the carbon that was used to make their product. The tools are easy to engage and train the resource recovery sectors, especially as you saw in the image before. That's where I was working with a disability and social enterprise when I was actually given a grant from New South Wales EPA to create Australia's first circular textile waste service back in 2020. So that was actually how I was able to determine what it is that we need to be able to put these products into a circular economy and share that responsibility with everybody. Our metrics provide the true cost of manufacturing, the resource recovery sector, and transport. We do know that both manufacturing and transport are the two biggest carbon emissions hotspots. And so by drilling down into this accurate data and providing these LCA metrics, we'll be able to look at how we can support those entities working in those industries first. So it means we can create a success of diversion strategies in collaboration with all partners, like the charities and, for example, local councils, and we can help them with their landfill mitigation data, and I'm really excited about that part. It enables us to feed this full circular data to Walk, and that's where they will certify. Now, this slide is really interesting. It's a snapshot of how big this industry is for both manufacturing and then looping the product back to the resource recovery sector to create this circularity. We're thinking big picture when it comes to specific countries. So each country will be different in how it moves products, how it deals with products, but we're dealing with the same tools and the same principles. Exact data is not known yet, but will start to be required over time, starting in 2027 in the EU, and especially to regulate the textile waste. And remember here, I've added some stats on textiles and clothing, but DPPs are also required for other textile-based products, including toys and mattresses, footwear, accessories. So it's the whole suite of textile. That's why we refer to as textile-based products. Now, the efforts to enhance recycling infrastructure and formalise resource recovery is crucial and needs to be done at scale using efficient DPPs. I'm actually really pleased to hear that the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association has already created a circular fashion unit to support this transition. Now here you'll see the other side, and this is where most people understand what a digital product passport is, but we actually call this a customer passport. So once the brand scans a QR code or an NFC, the brand can redirect them where they want them to go. Ideally, that will be to a brand's website so they can learn more about the brand, or they can directly go to Alice's Walk platform. Now this, you'll see the different stages of the product information. So QR codes or NFC can only be scanned one at a time, and they're placed onto a product or swing tag, so they may not survive the full life cycle. And our solution ensures that a third-party provider, like here you see Made By, the wonderful people at Made By app, and they won't capture the consumer's, they capture the consumer's private information in relationship with the brand, whereas the Global Circular Network does not. This is done through their apps, chosen by the brands with the permission from their customers. And you'll see here, again, you'll be able to scan and the QR code or the NFC, and the customer will be able to either access Walk and learn more about the brand and their storytelling, or then go directly into the product information. And once they're purchased, they then can use those links to download their personalized customer passport, which is specific to the product that they've purchased. So textile waste has been described as a wicked problem, and the industry is known to be the third largest contributor to the climate crisis. It has gone unregulated regarding emissions and pollution, and we're thrilled that the EU is very serious about addressing this. One of the industry's other problems is how to communicate their sustainability efforts with their customers. Consumers realistically also want incentives to do good, plus see the problem as a shared responsibility. So websites and social media are excellent existing tools for this, plus the work that Alice is doing with the Walk Consulting. So now over to you, Alice.
Thank you very much, Alison. So I'll just skip the thing. Thank you. So at Walk Consulting, we'll be combining RFID thread technology with my philosophical blueprint for behaviour change in sustainable fashion. Our aim is to establish a values-driven approach to sustainable fashion consumption, one that supports the unique intrinsic values of individuals and communities, enabling dynamic, personalised journeys shaped by personal circumstances, cultural contexts, and an evolving understanding. To demonstrate how this will work, I've created a theoretical scenario modelling. Here, you'll see two customer value profiles. Customer A, they display self-expressive and secular rational values. They're vegan, they're a climate change activist who prioritises CO2 reduction and loves the ocean. They advocate for women's rights and diversity and have a strong stance against child labour and modern slavery. They love thrifting and repairing their clothes. Customer B displays more traditional values. They're focused on quality over quantity, avoid trends, prefer timeless pieces, prefer domestic brands, and is budget conscious but willing to invest in quality pieces that will last. At a glance, these profiles look like people with opposing sustainability beliefs. However, they represent two types of customers who support sustainable principles in their own way. Our goal is to make it easy for consumers like these to identify their unique sustainability values, to help them make value-driven purchasing decisions, and ultimately to close the value action gap in fashion consumption. To develop the value profiles, we'll be designing consumer surveys in collaboration with Harvard University's behavioral science team at StarLab. However, the question remains, how will consumers identify brands that align with their values? Moral philosophy depicts three dominant ways individuals can make moral decisions. Deontology is rules-based approach. In fashion consumption, this involves identifying which industry regulations, standards, certifications, and initiatives the brand meets. Consequentialism is an outcomes-based approach. This emphasizes evaluating the outcomes of purchase decisions, recognizing that in imperfect systems, customers often face difficult trade-offs. Virtue ethics is identity-driven. It asks consumers, what kind of person do I want to be? Does this purchase match what I say my values are? And can I wear this item with pride? At WARC, we believe integrating these three approaches is essential for helping consumers to translate their values into actions. The problem? The information needed to support these decisions is currently extremely difficult to collect. This is due to opaque value chains, decentralized standards, certification saturation, with over 100 sustainability certification schemes currently being used in the textiles industry, and manufacturers requiring multiple certifications for the same process in order to support the brands that they're working with. This can cost some manufacturers up to $100,000 per year in duplicated auditing fees, as well as greenwashing and lack of trust. Ultimately, these challenges contribute to the inability for consumers to effectively execute moral-driven decisions in their everyday lives. This is where Alison and the RFID thread technology comes in. RFID thread technology will enable us to verify a brand's value chain, provide customers with the information they require. Rather than imposing the universal sustainability standards on customers, the values-driven approach supports the unique intrinsic values of individuals and communities, enabling a personalized journey shaped by circumstances, cultural context, and an evolving understanding of the issues. We're able to capture the brand's deontological standards, calculate their consequences, connect to the customer identity through compatibility scores. While we provide them with compatibility score, ultimately, it's up to the customer to choose. This means that customers might choose brands that don't align with their values. This creates an opportunity for a value gap analysis, helping them to reflect on their decisions and to develop their moral character over time. We also aim to educate customers and encourage them to rethink the trade-offs they're willing to make. We can also apply this same method to influencers and the brands that they represent, helping influencers to walk their talk and work with the brands that align with their stated values. The United Nations advocates for harnessing the power of influencers to positively shift consumers' consumption patterns. We share this belief and aim to combat social and environmental impacts in the fashion industry by positively influencing the products being promoted on social media. Our ultimate goal is to empower consumers and influencers to transition from material-based decisions to morally driven choices, with RFID thread technology playing a vital role in supporting us through this process. I will now hand back over to Alison to show how RFID threads can trace the journey of a pair of jeans.
Thanks, Alice. This is really quite the story with denim jeans. And the reason why I have focused on denim jeans is because realistically, they're actually the most resource-intensive product that is being made on the market. You can see here in 2022 is estimated that 830 million pairs of jeans were sold in the EU, and that's a value of 10 billion euros. Waste estimates show 3.32 billion pairs. But if we estimate just 20% going to landfill, that's around 664 million pairs of jeans. But those stats don't add up. When we look, there's actually 4 times more denim going unwanted, and that's brought unwanted than was actually brought in that single year. Now, that's because the estimates from the waste sector could be skewed due to the fact that they're using cumulative waste so genes that will last a lot longer. They've added old stock and secondhand genes, plus industry textile waste. So we're looking at a more realistic estimate is that between 30 to 60 million pairs of jeans are thrown to landfill each year just in the EU. And the costs are borne by councils and the community. We can also add on hidden costs such as landfill maintenance, because as we know, there is, I think it's 4 times more stretch jeans that are purchased than 100% cotton denim jeans, and those ones can take up to 200 years to decompose. So our best case circular strategies ideally is where we start with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation Jeans Redesign Protocols. And if the goal is to simply divert from landfill, and in the EU, if we could divert that 30 to 60 million pairs, we could mitigate the equivalent of taking a staggering 42,000 to just over 83,000 petrol cars off the road for 1 year. But here's where it gets exciting. If we envisage also circular design, add on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation protocols, and keep the jeans both out of landfill, plus extending their life for just 1 year longer, the estimated stats shows us that in just 1 year of extended producer responsibility, we can get an incredible 5 times more impact of emissions mitigation than from landfill diversion alone. So by adding RFID threads and collecting accurate data, we can help determine best case scenarios based on a variety of factors, including where was the cotton grown, where the manufacturers make their products, where the product is consumed, who extends its life, and choosing the closest, most efficient recycling. And then at the end, the metal DPP is then finally recycled as e-waste. Our goal is to assist in building an ever-adapting best case circular economy over time. The importance of collecting accurate data cannot be overstated. This also helps governments to reward all entities for providing best case products and services. Accurate data is also key for education to help restore trust. This also helps us to train LLMs for AI and collaborate to highlight the best of the best.
Thank you. Our partnership with Global Circular Network allows us to provide verified value chain data essential for brands to meet compliance regulations. RFID threads enables a decentralized system that can streamline the certification process by automating the data collected and verification. This technology allows us to conduct value action gap analyses for brands and connect with consumers based on their shared values. We can achieve this by conducting intensive action mapping of industry standards, certifications, and initiatives to the identified value categories. I'll now hand back over to Alison to briefly touch on the feasibility opportunities available.
So this is a quick rundown of what we propose in a feasibility study. As I said, it's going to be different depending on which region. We're dealing with various governments and industry partners, and we aim to support them to meet the first circular regulations in the EU and hope other countries will soon replicate. We offer interconnected tools and systems, especially to assist micro businesses and SMEs. The SMEs in Europe are about 99.8% of fashion brands. And so what we do here is that how they're going to access and afford DPPs and then access their supply chain to be able to get accurate data is one of concern. So that's how we're addressing that, by offering feasibility studies. You can see here, this is actually a case study that was done before my time with Tommy Hilfiger in a store in US. So you can email us for a copy of the feasibility study and also to be able to see this video and see the outcome. And you'll see there from the fantastic Peter at Cirque, he has been an early champion of ours. So we really hope to be able to engage with all levels of people along the supply chain and the value chain. So we're going to have a Q&A now for any questions.
Stop presenting.
Oh, I did forget to mention that Alice will be presenting all of her research this year at Yale, which is very exciting.
Yes, thank you, Alison. It is very exciting. The philosophical blueprint for behaviour change. Are they downloadable?
Yes, I can send, if you send us an email, I'd be happy to send you the slides and of course with the presentation as well.